what are you doing? Is this it? Waiting tables, this is it now? This is your thing? You're gonna wait tables for forever? Like, hard no. Took out loans and worked full time. I worked 35 hours a week for the last 2 years. Went back to school. It's always fun, right? You got your new trap. You guys didn't have trapper keepers, did you?
Is that those the things zipper?
No. Trapper keepers were like this piece of Velcro that would un-Velcro, and then it went like this, and it had like your notepad and like your calculator. Trapper keepers are gonna come back. I'm calling it right now. Tag this, hashtag trapper keeper. They're gonna be back soon. I guarantee in the next 5 years, trapper keepers will be back. We're pivoting Scaled's whole business. We're buying Trapper Keeper.
I just bought a clipboard with a storage inside.
I saw that. It got like very construction of you. I walked in, I'm like, oh, I guess she's doing a building survey later today. It looked like one of those, like, okay, we've got what's this violation, Timothy? You had all your papers and binders and shit and paper clips. Thank God someone's using those paper clips, by the way. You know, like, use more of them.
I was gonna say, I don't even feel guilty. Every
No.
10,000.
We've got 8
literally.
million paper clips. Going back to school is I think a time to kind of refocus efforts. It's like a starting over period. Like, I think when I was 16, I was going into because I was young, so I was going into my junior year. That was the time that I realized, like, you could reinvent yourself. I think when I was 15 or 16 is when I stopped going by Jacob. I think that's what I think it was my sophomore, junior year, I started to go by Jake instead of Jacob. And it's not that people didn't call it to me, but then I would correct them. I'd be like, oh, it's Jake. Yeah, maybe it's just like thinking about the idea of reinventing yourself, that you can each year, every day, you can kind of reinvent yourself. And, you know, I've been Jake ever since. I think I did change a lot that year too, and I don't know if it was because I called myself Jake. Jake does feel more fun, right? Jake is a much more fun person than Jacob.
What advice do you have for parents who feel like they can't help their kids through school?
You got to do what's best for your kids. So either you need to get the education or find them people that will do it. There's Kumon, Mathnasium. If I ever couldn't teach my son math, I would probably outsource it to somebody else. Like, I'm not going to go learn some new way of doing math. Actually, you know what? First thing I would do, I'm like, why are you teaching my son math? Do you know he has a computer in front of him? Why is my son learning geometry? Teaching a kid trigonometry is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You know what I mean? It was dumb then, and it's real dumb now. I didn't even have the internet, but I think that's it. I don't know, hopefully by the time Landon's in school, we will have refactored some things. Like basic algebra, there's some things that I think are helpful just because they're more problem-solving based.
Yeah, statistics I think should be a bigger.
I love stats. That's interesting. Because I didn't really like math, but I love stats. I really enjoyed it. I think they need to learn quiet time. They need to learn how to think about their emotions. They need to learn more emotional intelligence things than like I grew up with. This next generation will actually, believe it or not, I think have a healthy relationship with technology. More kids are going to trade school, right? And trade school now are things like General Assembly. They're learning to code. I think that's going to continue to be a trend. I dropped out for a semester, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me, meaning I was around my first 2 years of college. I was doing dumb shit. And like my dad's like, okay, cool, guess what? You're paying for everything now. Which is the best thing that ever happened to me. So I took that next semester off and waited tables. And then was like, what are you doing? Is this it? Waiting tables, this is it now? This is your thing? You're gonna wait tables for forever? Like, hard no. Took out loans and worked full time. I worked 35 hours a week for the last 2 years of college too, like in change. Went to summer school every summer to finish, right? So I think you got to be honest with yourself. I needed to do that to see who I was, what I wanted to be, what I didn't want to do. And then was like, you know, I saw people that were 5, 6, 10 years older than me, and that had become life. And I was like, no. I got my master's degree because I knew I had a knowledge gap. I'm like, look, if I want to go be a VP or a CEO or whatever it is I want to do, I was like, I don't know any of this stuff. And especially, man, when I got in that room and I was 20, I think it's 28. I'm talking to people who are finance, VP of operations at big Fortune 500s, software engineers at Intel, high ups at Wells Fargo. Like, these people thought completely different than me. My MBA experience was amazing, because once you get into the working world, you then start to only work around people just like you. If you're in marketing, you start to only know marketing people. If you're in sales, you only do sales. And it wasn't the network I had after it that was interesting, but it changed the way my brain thought. I was like, whoa, I've been in my little sales mode for the last 6 years. And that's the other thing too, never, ever, ever go get your MBA right after school. It's a complete waste of time. You're only doing it to check a box and kill more time. I was talking to an Australian client. It is very common in Australia. Almost all Australian kids take a gap year between high school and college. Go figure their shit out and go backpack and go to Yacht Week in Croatia and stuff. And then they're like, I don't want to be an accountant. I want to go be whatever. Like, I was a finance major for my first year, then I went and worked at a bank for a summer. I was like, this. It's not that I was wasted necessarily, but I think that's it. It's just don't go to check a box, go to actually like learn something. When you think about kids going to undergrad or like vocational or trade schools, you're doing it to learn a craft. And I went to go learn like this advanced stats and Excel sheets, and that was the learning for me 100%. But it was also, man, I really learned how these different groups of people thought. I had a much higher appreciation for that when I'd go into other conversations like, I know how this finance person's thinking. Okay, let me re-engineer this and not be all salesy and talk about it this way and be thoughtful about what that is. And it's okay to like change course.
How do you kind of balance going back to school and getting that kind of education for that knowledge gap you talked about with working full time as an adult?
You gotta go to night school, you gotta work. I mean, like even when I got my MBA, like I did it in 18 months with no breaks, 8 hours a week. 2 nights, 4 hours. College can help to teach you like to just stick with it no matter what. Like no matter what, it does help you with that, as long as you're not, you're going around like because your parents are like forcing you to. My parents weren't like that. Neither of my parents graduated college. Well, I think that maybe that's what happens. Maybe people take a year off and they're like, oh, I'm done. I failed. And I was the exact opposite. I was like, okay, cool. Not gonna do that anymore. Let's go take out loans and go work full time. And I'm gonna go start grinding. And I did. It took like 15 hours. It took 50. Like it would take like 8 hours over the summer, and then it took.